Hello, everyone, and you're listening to the Triple T podcast, Tony's Tech Talks. My name is Tony Seminary, and I'm based in the City of Roses, Portland, Oregon. Thank you very much for listening. During my day job, when I'm not doing podcasts, I'm the founder and CEO of IT Motives. We're a technology recruiting company, and we help our clients with executive search, direct placement, and contract staffing, both on a retained and contingent basis. If you'd like to learn more about IT Motives, you can visit our website. It's itmotives.com, and you can also see all of our Triple T podcasts there as well. The premise of Triple T, Tony's Tech Talks, is really to get to know people's stories, understand how they got into technology, how they're using technology, kind of what's going on out there in technology. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest today. His name is Kent Busby. He is the head of engineering for Lithium Motors, Driveway, also known as driveway.com. For full disclosure, Lithia and his team is a client of IT Motives. Kent, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you very much and welcome.
Tony, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be speaking with you. I got a chance to check out some of the other folks you've had on, and you have a lot of great Portland tech people, so I feel humbled to be among them.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. First couple questions, a two-part question for you, Kent, is tell us more about your story, kind of the Reader's Digest version of it. First question would be, where did you grow up and where do you now call home today? And then the second is, tell us about your journey and how you got to this point in your professional career.
Sure. Well, you're going to have to keep me honest because I am notorious for babbling a lot on this topic. Okay. I talk about this a lot. I do, a lot of hiring, and I think that's a two-way street. So I'm always talking to people about, where they came from and how they got where they are in their career, and try to, feedback the same thing. But for myself, I was actually, which surprises a bunch of people, born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. So just about as deep south gets, down there on the Gulf Coast. So a lot of, sport fishing and spear fishing and, rolling cars around in the mud and stuff like that. When I was growing up. I couldn't tell you why how I lost my Southern accent exactly, but I just left that somewhere along the way. Like I said, born and raised there, and then I went to school in Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, for those in the know. And yes. Actually, I was an electrical and wireless engineering major. Which was kind of, I don't know, just felt like the best fit to me at the time. I was unsure, after high school, what I wanted to do. And actually, I was real close to taking a totally different trajectory. I was really interested in audio engineering. So a lot of what you're going to have to do later with editing and putting content together. But I wasn't ready to bite the bullet yet. I had a lot of friends who were going to Auburn, and I knew that I was going to do something nerdy. So settled in for there. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about career stuff, but that's what I got my degree in, and stayed in the South for a good long while. And I'm actually a pretty recent transplant over to Portland. I just moved here in 2019. So, yeah, just starting to get to that point where I feel comfortable shaming Californians for moving here. I feel like I'm starting to earn that right. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Oregon is definitely the place for me.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, one of my good friends, a dear old friend of mine, born and raised in Mobile, and now lives in Portland. So similar kind of story as yours.
That's pretty similar, yeah.
Yes,
That's
and he's
that's too
also
funny.
in technology.
Oh, really? Also named Kim?
No, but he's in technology. He's a database administrator, a good friend of mine. I've actually gotten the chance to place him twice, and I've been to a couple, two SEC football games with him, which I'm sure you can appreciate. One of which I won't say because it's your big rival, and then the other one was an LSU game. We just went to random SEC games together, just for grins and giggles.
That's cool. Yeah, that gives you a lot of street cred with me, and I'm astounded that you pronounce Mobile correctly, because I have heard that pronounced every which way. We have we're running our internship program right now for a summer internship, and one of the interns I discovered is a University of Alabama graduate. So we've had to repair some bridges to make this situation. Yeah, it can be tricky.
I'm surprised you brought him in as an intern then.
Well, I didn't know about it until he got here. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha. Tell us more about your journey to this point. You're the head of engineering for Lithium Motors, which I say AKA driveway.com. And maybe you can tell us more about the delineation, but how did you get to this point? I know you said you went to Auburn and, you got an electrical, engineering degree. How did this come about to where you're at today?
Sure. Well, it is an interesting story. Definitely not where, I thought I would end up coming out of school. So, I went to school for electrical and wireless engineering, and at the time, so I graduated in 2010. And at the time, wireless engineering was like a brand new major that they were just rolling out at Auburn. And I was one of the first graduates from that program. And it was really cool. I got to do a lot of, signal decoding and interpretation. And I was building radios out of pizza boxes and like that type of thing. Okay. Yeah, it was really, it was really neat. And I really like, up until graduation, had no idea what it is that I wanted to do. So I actually met my wife while I was in school, and I proposed, and we were going to get married, and so I kind of hitched my wagon to that star. And she, because of the way that her degree was set up, she had to stay an extra semester to finish up a couple courses. So over that summer, I needed something to do. So I was looking for a summer internship, and I went to a job fair that we had on campus. It was an engineering job fair, and I was walking up to all the booths and introducing myself and handing out resumes and talking to people and just saying, hey, I'm looking for an internship, just kind of a temporary thing. Was told by every single company there, like, that's not what we're interested in. We're just looking for entry-level engineers. Come back to us in 6 months. And I was feeling pretty dejected. And on my way out the door, like right before I walked out the door, someone grabbed me by the shoulder and said, wait, you didn't talk to us. And I turned around, and it was these two guys wearing big orange aprons who were there from Home Depot. I'm like, why? Not the company I expected to see, the engineering job fair. But I was like, okay, I guess y'all do engineering. And they're like, yeah, well, we do, software engineering. And I told them I was looking for an internship, and they were like, yeah, of course, we do things like that. We'll get you hooked up. So I got a call back from them and did an interview on the phone. There's actually, like, I don't know, kind of interesting story here. I think it's worth telling. I'll be quick about it. But they had asked me to come to Atlanta, which is where Home Depot is headquartered out of, to interview. And I went, and it was a 5-hour interview event. So I had to go through like 3 or 4 rounds of interviews, and there's presentations and multiple meals provided and this whole big thing. And I did really poorly. I was not prepared. My interviews went bad. I was embarrassed. And I got on the elevator to go to like the closing out ceremony. and the director of HR who was sponsoring the event. I ran into him in the elevator, and he said, "Oh, you're one of the people interviewing for us, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I am, and I think it's going okay. I really hope I get the internship." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, I'm here. Like, I'm trying to be an intern for the summer." He was like, "What? All these people are here for full-time roles. Yeah, you could be an intern. That's fine." And that was it. So, I jumped through a lot of hoops that I didn't need to. But I'll breeze through the rest of it. I started working as a software engineer at Home Depot as an intern over the summer. And I remember showing up on my first day, and I was told what the project was, and I needed to make a database and migrate all this data there. And I wasn't sure what a database was exactly, but I was determined to find out. A lot of faking it till you make it, and
Sure.
that turned into a full-time job. I was in supply chain the whole time I was at Home Depot, and mainly come from like a Java background, picked that up. Over time, my skill set started to expand. I became a full stack developer. I started leading teams. I was there about 10 years, and I got to the point in my career where so many like tech professionals do, at coming up as a senior or as an engineer, and then a senior engineer, maybe a lead engineer, where you ask yourself, do I want to go into engineering management and leadership, or do I want to be an architect or a principal engineer and really attach myself to the technology? And I asked my boss, what do you think? I've struggled with this for years. I don't know what to do. And he told me in no uncertain terms, you will not be a manager. Absolutely not. You're just not built for that. You would be terrible at it. You're pretty clever to be an architect.
Wow.
Yeah. He was so certain, Tony. I didn't know, but I'm like, well, you know what you're doing. And it seems to be obvious to you.
Wow.
So I took his advice, and I started working as an architect there for about 6 months or so. Absolutely hated it. It wasn't for me. I love the work architects do. I respect them so much, and the smartest people that I know are architects. But it just wasn't for me. The thing that I really loved was the team building and leading people through problems, and that it just became really clear after kind of going in one path that was wrong. I need to change trajectory here. So it had been 10 years. I got a chance to come visit Portland, and I'd never been to the West Coast before. Absolutely loved it. I was sold immediately, and it really, in a hurry, kind of changed my whole life plan to gotta get out there. I gotta find some way to do it. So I started interviewing for roles here, and I moved to Portland in 2019 as the manager of supply chain for this little company that was downtown called Sitebox. So it was like a Portland startup. It had gotten acquired by Johnson & Johnson. It was right next to Powell's. And I was living on the West Side. I was, cool city person, riding my bike to work every day, drinking kombucha as soon as I got into the office. I loved it. Johnson & Johnson unfortunately shut that company down about 6 months after I moved cross country for it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was tumultuous. It all ended up working out, luckily. Through someone that I met there, they interviewed for a role at Lithium Motors, which is where I'm at now, and an engineering leadership opportunity opened up there, and they recommended me for it. And the rest is history. I joined Lithia in January of 2020, in the before times. And it's been wild since then, with the formation of Driveway and coming to where we are now.
My goodness. What brought you to Portland initially, that one trip? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So poor Home Depot. Home Depot acquired a company across the river in Vancouver called Quote Center.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
Quote Center like was starting to become Home Depot-ified, and they were growing. And I had a friend who was on my team back in Atlanta who moved to Portland, started working at Quote Center, and they recommended me for it. So they asked me right through the Home Depot Slack, like, "Hey, are you interested in moving to Portland and getting a job here?" And for whatever reason, I said, "Okay." And I started talking to them, and I traveled and I interviewed for a role with Home Depot in Portland, and did not get it.
Oh.
And that that was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved Portland so much that I knew that I had to get here one way or the other. So unfortunately, that trip was on Home Depot's dime and was the reason that I ultimately left Home Depot. But I'm still super grateful to them. It is a really excellent place to
Sure.
work. Yeah.
Sure. And you gave them 10 plus years, right? So, and they could have hired you, but they chose not to for a rollout here. So they had the
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah, it was, there's always so many variables, as
Sure.
with these types of
Of
decisions.
course.
But yeah, no mixed feelings about that. My heart is still orange.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. And that's your school one of your school colors, right?
Oh, that made it so easy for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too
Mhm.
bad driveway's not orange. That would just be perfect.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, very good. Well, we've heard so many amazing things about you, Kent. For that person to say you would be terrible at management, huge miss. Wow. Huge miss.
Yeah, it's looking back, like I like to tell that story to feel like a little vindicated.
Of course.
But the reasons like that they had pointed out actually like are things that I have struggled with as a leader and
Mm.
managing teams of people. And the main thing that my manager there was trying to call out was that I'm the kind of person who wears my heart on my sleeve.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I bring a lot of like emotion, and like to have a lot of like humanity,
Mhm.
like in the work
Mhm.
environment, and
Mhm.
that can make things really difficult as a people leader. So,
Mhm.
yeah, wasn't wrong about the yellow flags there. But those are things that I've largely been able to work through, overcome, and are definitely worth it. I love what I do. So, I take that as a challenge. I'm glad that I was able to do this in spite of that advice, I guess.
Well, I've heard it said every strength's a weakness and vice versa. And if that's a weakness, first of all, it wouldn't make you terrible. But second of all, if that's your biggest weakness, then you're a very, very strong manager, especially in this day and age where people ask for that transparency and they want it, and nothing's a secret anymore, and things, the world has just changed. And so I think if you wear your heart on your sleeve, that means you're a heck of a manager. So I would
I appreciate
disagree with your former. Did you say it was your former boss that said that? Who said that again?
Yeah, that was my manager, which again, like I still
Yeah,
hold in high esteem,
yeah.
and
Sure,
we
sure,
worked through that. But it was an
sure.
interesting situation at the time, in kind of what enabled me to like start to grow some of these skills was
Yeah.
the structure on that team. Like we were about to go through this reorg. My manager had at the time a little over 40 direct reports, and that is
Mhm.
completely untenable. There's no way to manage that
That's
many people,
insane.
especially doing what we do.
Yeah,
So
sure.
there was, a big gap in like leadership in a spot where someone needed to step up and be a leader over a good chunk of those folks. So that gave me a platform without having the title to really do those sorts of things. So, and he, was very supportive through that, and made room for me in that way. But yeah, that was a cool. It was really through that experience that I had the opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do, and to yeah, get pretty decent at it.
Like you said, you didn't want to be an architect after you tried it. So that's, it's one way to learn. Tell us
Hmm.
about the history of Lithia. they're a Fortune 500. You all are a Fortune 500 company in Medford, Oregon, I believe, with well over 5,000 employees. And you've got this, what I've heard it's called Innovation Lab here in Portland, Beaverton, called Driveway. Tell us how, so Lithia is the parent and Driveway is the child, if you want to use those terms, or tell us about that dynamic between those two companies and how you're essentially one company, but you've got this innovation lab called Driveway. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. This is like all I think about and talk about all the time. So, Lithia, just a quick crash course on Lithia. A lot of people are surprised to find out that it's actually one of the largest companies in Oregon. We recently reached number 158 on the Fortune 500. So we jumped up a good amount of slots since last year. Lithium Motors is the largest used and new car dealer in North America by volume. So essentially, we're a large network of used and new car dealerships, mainly in the US, but we do have around 50 dealerships in Canada. Company's been around since the 1940s. So it was founded by a gentleman of the name of Walt DeBoer, who is from Ashland, Oregon. So Lithia is actually headquartered in Southern Oregon, down in Medford, and has been, even though we're publicly traded, has been a family business really since its inception. So it started, just as a car dealership, which became a few car dealerships, and then a larger network, and has been kind of expanding over time. It is super common that like Lithia will buy and acquire a dealership or a network of dealerships, and then we will, largely let them run semi-autonomously and, keep their original, branding and, not have to go repaint all the local sports arenas just because Lithia has acquired this set of stores. So that's, one of the reasons that, even though we are so large, we are a $22 billion a year revenue company. A lot of people aren't familiar with the name, unless maybe like, you're from Medford or in the Oregon area and you see Lithia and all the, license plate covers and things like that. So, been really successful, been doing well. Even in the past, I would say decade has really grown tremendously outside of just, what Driveway is. But the quick story about Driveway, so we had our new CITO join the company, George Hines, back in 2018. And George comes from a really rich digital innovation background. So really playing with digital strategy to unlock new things that a company can do and to reach new audiences. And when I joined, what we were doing was a lot more experimental and kind of proving out that, hey, Lithia, doesn't have a core skill set of doing customer-facing software development, but we think we can. And we think we can grow that here and be really good at it. So he set out to prove that. And, we partnered with a few dealerships and had some like pilots that we ran. We work with a wonderful group of software contractors out of Detroit called Detroit Labs, who really helped us get off the ground. And I was hired as the first engineering person for Lithia on this project. So, I came in and we were not called Driveway at the time. We had a lot more modest goals, and I was tasked with like building a small team, maybe 2 teams, and just kind of ramping up over the course of 2020 and getting what we had, like a little more robust and rolling it out. And of course, there was this thing that happened. It was called COVID-19. I don't know if you or anyone in the audience has heard of that, but I'm sure there's a wiki page about it. That, like so many businesses, changed what our priorities were. And like we wanted to suddenly, in a very, very big hurry, go from, experimenting with customer-facing technology to folding in a customer-facing e-com solution to buy and sell cars online at a national level. We wanted to go all the way. and to do it very quickly. So the gauntlet was thrown down in about spring of 2020 that we're going to do it. We're going to roll out a website to sell our inventory to people online nationally under a new brand name. We came up with the name Driveway, which I still love and think it's wonderful. And we hired a zillion people. We launched Driveway in October 2020, October 1st. Coincidentally, my dad's birthday, so it was my birthday gift to him. Cool. Didn't get him a car. I guess I could have done that in retrospect.
Right?
But yeah, so we launched.
Maybe he's still waiting. Maybe he's still waiting.
Yeah, he can keep waiting. that's fine. Yeah, so we launched Driveway, and at the time we were just selling a couple cars, 2-3 cars a month, and now we've grown to do annualized about $1 billion in revenue just through Driveway alone.
My goodness.
So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of other interesting, business things to talk about there with Driveway, but it is another offering on top of our traditional dealership model that we do to buy cars from people, let you trade in, or sell used and new cars online. So we would consider, just in like kind of the Driveway e-com space, like the kind of competitors that we think about are folks like CarMax and Carvana, Vroom. The only difference is that we can sell new cars online. None of our competitors can.
Yeah. Okay. What do you all call yourselves? I know Driveway is the name, but is it like called it? I've heard Innovation Lab, or do you even use that, or just simply it's Driveway and that's it?
There's always been some back and forth about naming. So yes, originally when I joined, I was one of 3 people working in a little shared office space in Northwest Portland, and we were just arguing about like what to put on the radio every day, and walking over to Breakside, and getting lunch and hanging out. And we called that the Digital Innovation Lab, because that was the kind of talent that we were looking for, is people with more of a startup mindset, do want to innovate, and would get excited about building greenfield things. We recently moved into a new office space. And for everybody listening, in-office participation, completely optional. We opened a new office in Tigard, Oregon. So this is known as the Driveway Center up here. So Innovation Lab, we've moved a little bit away from that terminology, but we do call our group of engineers and product managers and designers the Driveway digital team. Or Digital Innovation Group might be a name you would hear. So, yeah, that is something that's been evolving just over the past few months even.
It's amazing. From October 1st, 2020 to now, you're $1 billion annually in revenue. That is phenomenal.
Yes.
My goodness. What an
we talked about
growth. Wow.
In all the stats you can measure really grew that way. I mentioned I was the first engineering person for Lithia. We did have contractors working on the project as well. So that was early 2020, and now we have 105 engineers on the Driveway digital team.
Wow. Okay. And that doesn't even count other parts of the organization, correct? As far as product management and other, disciplines within Driveway.
Yeah, not to get too into the weeds of that, but Driveway digital. So folks who make driveway.com and the systems that support that, we have about 100 engineers, and then the rest of the staff is made up of product managers, technical product managers, experienced designers, copywriters, all the wonderful creative people that let us do what we do. And then Lithium Motors itself, does have other technology needs and software developers for other parts of the business as well. So I just speak
Sure.
for the driveway side, but yeah, it's a big family.
Sure. Great segue into, you talked about Carvana and competitors, and of course it's well, documented out there. Was it 3 months ago they had a pretty major layoff, but yet you folks are hiring, continue to hire. Tell us about your hiring. Tell us about your current needs. Tell us about how, folks can get in touch with your organization to potentially get into Driveway.
I would love to. I'll try to rein in like a huge sales pitch here. But yes, that is something that like we talked about internally too. Because that is scary when you see similar businesses going through things like that. But Lithia's model is so different than Carvana or Vroom. Those companies started really as like digital only, with just the online presence, really alone as the kind of core thing that they're centered on. Lithia has a big, robust network of dealerships and all this existing infrastructure and relationships with OEMs. We have like this great system and wonderful people at all the dealerships who support us. So we have like this big kind of network and ecosystem that we thrive in, but our competitors sadly don't. So that's one of the things that kind of insulate us from the problems that they're facing. And of course, my heart goes out to the people who are having trouble at some of those other places, experiencing layoffs and things like that. There's a lot of really wonderful, talented people who work for Carvana and Vroom and those folks. But Lithia's model is a lot different, and that's one of the things that has made us able to keep growing. We, like you said, we are hiring. I think right at this exact moment, we have about 15 roles open, just in engineering, but we also have product and design roles open, and then tons of other roles. Driveway's more than just the .com. We have a physical Driveway store in the city of Portland.
Oh, I didn't know
Newly
that. Wow.
launched, actually just earlier this week. Yeah, we'll go check it out sometime.
Wow.
And we have people all across the country who work at Driveway through our Driveway care centers, and who go meet with customers for vehicle inspections and ask questions and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. If anyone's interested in checking that out, if you just go to driveway.com, scroll to the bottom, there'll be a careers link, and you can find any of that stuff.
Tell us a little bit about the sizzle. Clearly, you're digital, you're innovative, you're new, it's greenfield, all those things. Those definitely tons of sizzle. What are some of the reasons why people come to work for Driveway, not only in your organization, but also other parts of Driveway?
Sure. I try to maintain what got me originally excited about working here, which is that it is part of like a well-established company, especially, after I joined kind of a startup that got shut down right away. I was looking for a little more stability.
Sure.
So, that always feels good. But Lithia really does a great job of giving a tremendous amount of autonomy to professionals and how they approach their job. So I really loved the stability and also the freedom to build teams the way I thought worked best and use the technologies that I was interested in using. So, that is a big part of it, is like the freedom to experiment and try things on for size. And we're totally comfortable with every team operating just a little bit differently. We have some guardrails for our agile process and things like that, but we hire smart people, and we want them to do what they think is best, to do what they got to do. So that's a big part of it. And then the other one, we do invest a lot in making sure that we have a healthy engineering culture. So I am much more inclined to hire someone who is an excellent communicator versus someone who is just like uber proficient at whatever language and framework we happen to be hiring for at the time. I can teach someone how to code in Kotlin. I cannot teach someone how to be an empathetic human being. So we hire a lot of really excellent communicators and people who really do get along well on teams. And I think that comes through, when we're talking to candidates and look at people who might be a good fit. So yeah, those are some of the things, in addition to it being new and exciting, and a lot of greenfield to do. And that's always exciting for engineers.
Sure. Empathy is the new currency, right? It's very, very important in today's modern age. You hear that a lot, and it's really refreshing to know that Lithia and your team at Driveway really, and it sounds like it's a very important trait to, ideally have coming in the door. So like you said, you can learn it, I suppose, but many cases you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, it's just that is a steeper hill to climb. And I am a big fan of giving people the benefit of the doubt. And you never know what's going on in someone's life. Someone's slow to respond to you, an email or a Teams message, or is a little snippy with you. You don't know, that person could be having, an addiction issue in their family, or, a relative who's really sick, or, because of circumstance, or facing serious money problems or something. There's just so much that happens when we're not at work. So it is really important to me that we're always looking out for each other and extending that benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely. Earlier, I wrote this down. I think I heard you say in-office participation is optional. Hear that correctly, and can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So, like I said, we're up here in Tiger, like right next to the Washington Square Mall, which isn't so bad. I live on the east side, and it takes me about 20 minutes or so to get in.
Okay.
But it's a really cool office. It's really new. We have the whole this whole quadrant of the 5th floor is just the engineering suite. And I would say most of the team is Portland local, maybe around 80% or so. We do hire people, in other locations and time zones. But it was important to me that we try to invest in the Lithia tech scene and the tech market. Just today, we probably have like 15 or 20 people here hanging out. We're going to go grab lunch and spend a little time with the interns who are here this summer. So, they're not to open up this big thing about like the value of being in person. But I definitely derive a lot of my happiness at work from being able to work with people a little bit more intimately, and spend a little more time in person. So office is here when people need it. But we try to make like fun reasons and opportunities that would, get people interested in coming and spending some time here. So, not going to be enforcing any mandatory office attendance anytime soon, or anytime ever.
Sounds good. You've been incredibly successful over your professional journey, and I'm sure your whole life, Kent. Can you tell us some of the tips and tricks? How do you attribute this success? What do you do? Everybody's got their thing, right? And some of their rituals or beliefs or whatever those might be. Can you, if you don't mind, clue us into how you have found success?
That's a great question. Sometimes I'm not really sure about that. I will say, and you probably hear this answer from just about everybody, but it is a significant part hard work, and a significant part of luck, and just circumstance. So I guess what I would say, because I was actually just asked this question recently by the interns. We had like a meet and greet that we just did, and one thing that I have always tried to do in my career was say yes. And when presented with some big challenge or opportunity that might be fleeting and you really don't know if you can do it or if it's going to be way too much for you or too big, say yes. The worst thing that can happen is it does not work out, and you know, go back to where you were before you jumped in. But a lot of times you find that, you know, these people in these intimidating positions like directors and VPs and heads of departments and things like that, they have the same 24 hours in a day that we all do, and they are able to pull it off. There's a lot of people who serve in roles like that. It is doable and achievable, and putting yourself in a position where you can, you know, figure it out as you go, that you have leaders who believe in you and want to invest in you and help you grow. That is absolutely huge. I wouldn't be here without a tremendous amount of support from my leadership here at Driveway. But yeah, you know, like the first time when I got that internship back at Home Depot, I didn't know what a database was. I had taken one Java class ever, and all the other interns were CS majors and knew so much more than me. But I decided to go for it and see if I could figure it out, and I did. So you know, just saying yes and not putting artificial barriers in your own way, and being really receptive to new opportunities. I know you know the value of this, Tony, but like networking, and not even necessarily like going to a networking event and handing out business cards, but you know, just internal networking. In this technology or this field, there's a lot of movement, and people typically will stay at a role for just a couple of years these days and move on to something else. So even just making rich relationships just with your own team and people around you, you know, reach out to every person you meet on LinkedIn and get to know them just a little bit. That goes so far and will open up so many more opportunities for you. It is and it's tough for us technologists, but people, you have to invest in people and relationships and make the time for that. So try to get as many opportunities as you can, and then jump at them if they present themselves. That's what I would say.
Amen on the opportunities and the networking. You know, luck, I think, has sometimes a negative connotation. I'm not saying you're implying that, but I think sometimes it does. And I think luck is where opportunity meets preparedness. And those opportunities, you want to be prepared when those come along and be ready for them. Kind of like what you said, be ready to say yes. Just jump in. Sometimes, you know, you just don't know everything. You learn Java, you know, really, really quickly. You're going up against some talented CS students when you were interning at Home Depot, and look where you're at today. So I think, yes, the word, just saying that from time to time, I think is a really good thing. And absolutely having great people around you, networking, having those great leaders. When you find those great leaders, stay close to them. They can help you. That's all great advice. That's fantastic.
It's worked out for me so far. So until it stops working, that's what I'll be doing.
A few more questions here as we kind of wrap up. I'd love to know a little bit more about maybe hobbies. What do you do on Saturdays and Sundays when you're not running Driveway? And what are some of your passions outside of work?
Yeah, great question. And I am one of these people that likes to collect hobbies, and really just like go like 1000% in anything that I happen to be interested in at the time. So I also have 2 young kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. So in the, you know, small sliver of time that I'm not spending hanging out with them, I'm really into music. I used to collect like eclectic musical instruments and still a lot of those. I play a little music from time to time. I studied Japanese for a number of years, which that has gotten super rusty. But I would consider myself a little bit of a Japanophile, and I love so much about Japanese culture. And the one today, and I was talking to Gina at IT Motives about this. I recently got enrolled for flight lessons. So I have been, learning how to fly airplanes and trying to get a
Okay.
private pilot's license, which is
Wow.
a huge other world that has just been a really rich source of just good place to like kind of disconnect and a lot of escapism in that. But that has been a tremendous amount of fun and a big challenge in itself. So, I'm all over the place. Ask me the same question next week, Tony. I might have a different answer.
It's funny you call it collecting hobbies. I like that. That's great.
hmm I wish they gave merit badges for it because I would be decked out.
Well, with those with saying merit badges, were you a Boy Scout?
I was a Cub Scout.
Okay.
But
All right.
it's funny because what we discovered when we hire people to work at Driveway, typically everyone is one of three things. They are either a musician, or
Mhm.
an Eagle Scout. We have so many Eagle Scouts here,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
a dungeon master for Dungeons and
Okay.
Dragons. And we have a few
Okay.
people who are all three. But yeah, that is a funny pattern we've detected. Maybe that's just technology, but that's something that I look for in a candidate. Are you a dungeon master?
Sure. Sure. Put it on the job descriptions. In the back there, right behind you on your shoulders, own it, power up, something else. Number one fun is. Tell us about those in right behind you.
Oh, sure. So these are what we call road signs. So we have a peer recognition program at Driveway where you can nominate people you work with, and you win a badge and a certificate and a $250 gift card. It's really nice, and shout it out in front of everybody. So these are the four Lithia core values, which are, I'll go out of order here. Earn customers for life. Take personal ownership, improve constantly, and have fun. Those are the four Lithia core values. So once a month, when we're giving out our road sign awards, I will dial in secretly to someone's stand up and hand this out.
All
It
right.
is road sign season, so these are in my office today.
Sure. Sounds good. Kent, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure talking to you, learning more about your story, how you got to this point in your career, advisement you have for other folks that want to aspire to be the next the next Kent Busby, and drive away. And what an amazing trajectory and what an amazing journey that you folks have had just in a year and 8 months since your launch to where you're at today. That is amazing. Just kudos to you folks and all the hiring you've done. We appreciate it too, not only at IT Motives, but this whole Portland ecosystem. I mean, that's a lot of people. If you say about 100 engineers, 80, 80% are Portland based, that's a lot of hiring you've done and helped out this Portland ecosystem. And so I speak for a lot of people out there. We really appreciate it and appreciate the partnership.
Of course. I am just a small part of what made Driveway really successful. Just so many wonderful, talented people I've had the chance to work with here. It's been a huge opportunity for me. And, I am pretty new. Like I said, I moved here in 2019. So I'm pretty new to like the Portland tech scene. And I was told when I moved here that it was like intimate and everybody, was like pretty close. And I did not think that was true until I interviewed about 300 or 400 of them, and now I see yes, absolutely. It is a really great tech community, and I found it to be very welcoming. And you, Tony, and IT Motives have been a big part of that for me. Y'all have helped us find some really wonderful engineering talent that have really made the difference for us for Driveway. So I am also real grateful for that partnership, and that we are all part of that story together. A lot more cool things in store in the future, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Kent. It's a pleasure. Thanks again for your time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon, and looking forward to seeing and hearing more about Driveway in the future.